but not one word in the Bible, like at least for me, when I look at it, is like God like condemning you or saying you're bad for this. It's always, there's a price you're gonna pay for your choices. There's consequences you're gonna have based on the choices that you made.
This is Vivian Villacis.
And this is Raul Villacis.
Welcome to the God, Money, and Purpose podcast.
Welcome to the God, Money, and Purpose podcast. My name is Raul Villacis, and today is episode number 56.
Yes, so excited to be here with you, my love. Last week, we were relaxing.
I forgot to say my beautiful co-host is with me.
I know I'm beautiful, and I know I'm here with you. It's okay.
Vivian Villacis. Welcome to the show, Vivian Villacis. Yes. This is your show, after all. I'm just here as a side. I'm the side guy.
No, it's not my show. It's our show. And I know that I'm always here because you would be talking about business day and night, but it is so important to come back and to talk about relationships, about love, about the romance, about everything that really we go through in life. And you're just so good at it.
Just about the whole thing. We're going to talk about God. We're going to talk about money. We're going to talk about purpose. So if you're watching our podcast, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you comment. If you're watching us through Facebook Live, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you leave us a message and let us know where you're watching us from. If you're watching us from YouTube, just make sure you subscribe, you comment, give us some questions. We're going to answer a couple of questions today, and we're going to get the show rolling. So tell us what happened this week. We were talking about a topic that we're going to talk about today, and I thought it was a perfect topic. What happened with you and Alejandro? We have a teenage son. Actually, we have two teenagers, a daughter and a son, and it's been a ride. This past couple of months has been a hell of a ride with these kids.
I think most of the times that we disagree on something, or that we have this periods of like growth, I would say, is with our kids, because you and I right now are kind of like in alignment, and I kind of just. I let you be, you let me be, and then we come back together, and we're in a good place right now, right? But with their kids right now, since they're teenagers, it's like, oh my goodness, I never knew we were in for this ride. Even though they're such amazing kids, like we always say that we have such great kids. I mean, Alejandro is so mature for his age, but nevertheless, there's always those times that I want to like choke him.
But that's what the kids are here for. The kids are here to expand us. Our kids are here to become our biggest teachers. And that's what I love. Yes, and I love Alejandro and Abigail. They're like the best gifts that God has ever given us. So and every time I get triggered, because I get triggered by certain things, I know that I need to learn something. Yeah. And most of the time what these kids teach me is to have patience. And if we don't have patience, I mean, I was telling one of my clients the other day, because we were talking about this teenage daughters as well. It's like, just the feminine energy. We have to learn how to become the container for the feminine energy. We have to become the container for these little girls who are becoming women. And if we don't know who we are, if we don't know how to get grounded, we are going to get triggered, and we're going to take it on them. And then if we don't have a good relationship with our kids, we don't have a relationship with our wives, and then our business will suffer, because eventually they're all connected. Eventually one overrides the other.
And that's what I love, and I appreciate you the most when it comes to that, like just being with our kids, because a lot of the times, like, yes, I could be a good mom, but you always need the dad's input, like the man's input, because like what I see with my son is like, I could teach him so many things, but he needs to have this, like, the accountability and the honorability of knowing who he is and speaking his truth and all these things. So let me just tell you, like, what happened for you guys that are listening out there. My son is, like I said, he's super amazing, but there's times that he ticks me off, right? So last night he had, and that's the thing with him, it's like he has not one test, but he has like 2 or 3 tests. So he was preparing for it, and last minute. And that's my thing with me, is like my timing is so different. And I think I always say this here. It's like my timing is different. So I need to honor that part, that it's like my stuff, right?
And that's where I come in, because I do want him to learn his own flow, his own rhythm. Yes. Like for me, last minute is just in time. I look at it, the way that I operate is the more I prepare for things, the more I'm in my head. So I think that for me, to tap into the flow state, I need to be present to the moment, as opposed to like think, if you put me a project that I have to do next week, I overthink, and I probably won't do as good of a job if the project is due an hour from now. So that's my time is like, give me an hour and I'll make it happen. Most of the articles that we write is like now, like if a deadline has to happen tomorrow, like we make it happen. So I don't judge him for that, or I don't take away anything from that, because I want him to learn his own flow, his own timing.
I'm okay with that until you incorporate other people, right? So like, here's the deal. He's going to study. He's going to have this test. He wants me to help him, and I'm all for it. I'm like his biggest cheerleader. I'm there for him. I want him to do the best. I want him to do his best. So I'm there for him. And I said, I could help you. I'm here to help you. So I always tell him that. I send him a little text. I think this was like even 6 o'clock in the afternoon. He doesn't come to me until 10 o'clock at night, when I'm already like in bed, winding down, ready to go to sleep. My Aura ring is telling me like it's sleep time now. And now he wants to study. So then I said, no, I'm sorry. Like, it's too late. You go do what you have to do. You know exactly what you need to do. I was just going to be his support. And then he wakes up in the morning. So he left. He slammed the door. He left. And I was like, well, okay. Obviously, all this emotion, so I'm going to let him be with it.
But see, that's what you saw. You know, from my perspective, I saw different. I saw him coming up, say, you want to help me? And you said, no, I don't. I saw him and said, okay, I'm going to do it myself. But so he didn't even ask me, because he knows the answer with me. I was like, I'm done. Like I always tell my kids, your pain is not my pain.
I know.
You have homework. We don't have homework. Yes. But you have a challenge. We don't have a challenge. So he needs to figure out how to solve his own problem. So, but I didn't see that him slamming the door. I saw him, like, from my perspective, I saw him owning it. Like, okay, you're not gonna help me.
I wish that was true.
He owned it, okay, fine, and he left. But okay, go ahead. So that's what. So because that already triggered you as well. Like, okay,
benefit of the doubt, he owned it. He was gonna go do his thing, so he did. I have no idea what time he went to sleep. I have no idea like what happened in the night, but I do know that he stayed up and he got something done, because I saw some papers that were ready to take to school. But then in the morning, like, I get up, and sleep for me is everything. Like, if you don't know me, sleep means the world to me. Like, I need to get an X amount of hours for my body to, especially right now. Especially right now, because I am still recuperating, healing from what had happened to me in the past, and like COVID. And now, okay, so now you wake up, and I'm here waking up, like, thank you, God, for this day, and I'm praising him. And not that I wouldn't say like he triggered me, but it just, well, I guess it does trigger me, because it makes me upset. It made me sad. Like, here I am waking up to make you like a good breakfast, to take care of you, to tell you that I love you and that you're going to do amazing, and it doesn't matter what you do, it's going to be your best. This kid gives me the cold shoulder. He doesn't speak to me. He doesn't, like, the energy, you could just, I'm so energetic, and I just feel the energy like oozing out of his body. But then I'm not going to get in the same level as him. I'm actually going to, that's what I chose to do, right? Like, I chose to step away. I made his breakfast. I was this close to sending him to you know where. I was like, I'm just going to let him be. Raul, you take him to school. Right? And I had the choice. For me, it was like a clear battle when I was in the kitchen. Like, do I tell him what I feel right now so I could show him what he needs to see? Or do I just let him be and, you know, like, take the higher road and don't say anything? Vivian goes upstairs to meditate. Like, this is when you need to go meditate and pray. Ask God for more wisdom. So I did. I walked away. And then in the afternoon, when we'll get into that. But here's what I saw from there. Like, he was in a bad mood in the morning.
In the morning, but, you know, and I asked him. I said he was tired. He didn't sleep. He only slept like 3 hours, so he was tired. So, like, that's just the part that I see also is the mirror, right? The trigger and the judgment is like, you know, the expectations. Like, here you are waking up early, making breakfast. You know, the expectation is like, oh, thank you, you're so awesome.
No, I didn't want that.
You know, but then also, to get that. What I like when I do things, when I look at the previous role, probably would have been triggered and said, hey, you know, this is how you do it. But, you know, I do my own thing. I do the same thing every single time to prep myself so I could take on the day. So I was able to see that. and allow myself not to get caught up in that energy that I already saw you getting pissed. I already saw you moving the dishes and doing certain things that you do when you.
Did you see me catch myself?
Yes, I was very proud of you. I was ready for you to just send them to hell, and then me, talking all the way to school and kind of healing that situation. But I was proud of that.
I just let him be.
Because when the cobra comes out, the cobra comes out.
Yes, and they know that. But I just, and that's the part that we talk about, like this awareness of like us kind of like in a 3D, like a third eye view, looking at yourself like, how is this going to go down right now? Whether it's with your spouse, whether it's with your kids, with your, co-workers, there's a slight second when you make that choice, and you say like, it's going to go left or it's going to go right. I chose to go upstairs.
So from that perspective, look at that as, what if it was a relationship, right? A husband and a wife.
Yeah.
The husband is working. He has a deadline, right? He has a big project or presentation.
Most of the time, you guys are like,
and he's coming home, and the wife is getting triggered, and the wife is making this beautiful breakfast in the morning. And he's like so focused, like, okay, like, so then you see the perspective, like the man just wants to get shit done.
Yes.
And then the energy, sometimes we are unconscious about the energy that we exude to other people, and therefore we trigger a certain part. So how that would have gone down is like a husband and a wife would have been fighting in the morning. Then he goes to the presentation, he would have fucked it up. The wife would have probably felt bad, and that's where chaos began. So tell us what happened after you picked them up.
Well, and since you say that too with like your spouse, like that's happened to us before, and it happens to us all the time. But since you work from home, I actually know that you are so focused. I get out of your way. So I think like us learning to decipher is like, okay, what work mode is he? I mean, what mode is he in?
But and we actually had this conversation. So let me, for men who are listening to this, I want you to start, really communicating with your wife about letting her know, like, it's not about you.
Right. It's
nothing to do with you. Yes. I am in a zone that I need to do this, and I will. Once I'm done with this, I could pay attention to you, and that's what we had these conversations. That
we did,
because
when
your man is in the zone, and you get on this way, you're gonna get crushed, because sometimes we don't see that. We only see red. We only see where we're going. So, for all the guys who are listening, just comment, let me know if you agree with me. When you're in the zone, get the fuck out of the way.
That's right, and I know, and I don't even get on your way, because I don't like that feeling of like.
Especially
like, hey,
now with COVID, like
I
have a studio in my house where we do our conferences, and that's been a challenge to actually contain my energy there, so I don't trigger the people around us. So then, especially now with the coronavirus, you have to have more conversations. Like, listen, I'm in the zone. It has nothing to do with you. It has to do with you. I'm just going forward, and I need to continue to move forward.
So then something good that you also do since we had the conversation that you told me, like, it's not about you. I'm in the zone. I want to be focused. Please don't come and interrupt that flow. For me, it was like, oh, okay, I didn't take it personal and I got out of the way. But what made me feel really good is like when you are done from being in that state of like just focused and on the flow, you come upstairs or you call me and you're looking for me, then it's like, oh, okay. Then you hug me and you make me feel like, okay, you are loved. You are special. I do see you. I do love you. So then it's like, oh, okay. He does love me, right? Like
that's the shift.
That's a big shift.
Because I was going to say, that doesn't mean, man, that you get to be in the flow or in the zone 24/7 and neglect, because it's impossible to be in the zone and the flow 24/7, because you're going to get burned out.
It's not impossible. You guys do it, and that's the challenge.
Well, we do it, but we're not in the flow. Then there becomes work. Then becomes force. There's the difference between force.
Okay, I was going to say where you flow. My flow is different than your flow.
At the end of the day, we're forcing things to happen. We're not in the flow. Flow becomes effortless.
Right.
Is the difference between really tapping into flow and putting force behind it.
Overworking.
Force is like you want to make things happen. You're attached to an outcome. Flow, it's like things are happening and you're in the zone that time gets lost.
Yes. At that time, don't get in the way.
And then whatever happens in the way is like, okay, it was an innocent bystander.
Yes. And I get that. So then continue to my story. I have to pick up my son and I'm going and I'm singing and meditating and doing my thing in the car. And I get there and I'm like, part of being who I am is speaking my truth. And I want to teach my son like what it is to speak your truth. And then me in the car, like going through these different ideas of like, you have to be a good mom and you have to do this. But that's like the truth of the world, what the world dictates, what the world has said, whether it's social media or a cover of a magazine or my mother, whatever it was. But then connecting to what my truth as Vivian is. And then I had to speak to him. We had this amazing, beautiful conversation. And it wasn't from a place of like, like pointing the finger, but it was like, hey, this is how I feel. Let me be vulnerable enough to tell you how you made me feel this morning. And how do you feel? And we had this beautiful conversation of like, I'll take responsibility for what I did. And can you take responsibility for what you did? And it was like, it made me feel so mature, and almost like he was like, Mom, my son is so amazing. And he was like, Mom, I love you. You're the best mom. Taking full responsibility. And so I did too, because I know in some part it was my miscommunication or, I took responsibility for that. So I think that's a beautiful part that we as moms could offer our sons.
Because here's what I saw in basic conversation that you told me in the car is like you took responsibility that your happiness is your choice.
Right.
That the reality is what you're going to do is you're not going to tolerate, somebody, not appreciating you or not tolerate that energy to consume you.
So then, right. So I told him, I said, I love you. I am your mother. I will never take love away, but I will not tolerate you treating me a certain way because not even your father, not my husband, not anybody treats me that way. Why would I allow my son to treat me that way? And then he looked at me like, you mean like tolerate? What do you mean tolerate? I said, tolerate is when like you say no to something because this is my standard of living. So I cannot lower myself to you to treat me this way and for me to feel this way, this sadness and this anger in the morning because I won't tolerate it. So I said, the next time, Alejandro, that you do this to me, I am going to totally walk away from you. And you will do your breakfast. You will do whatever you need to do because, I'm not no one's maid. I'm your mother and I love you and I won't tolerate it. And for him was like, wow, like, okay, I get it. He like, it was like this, like he got it. He was like, okay, you won't tolerate it and I won't go there again.
Yeah. And for me seeing this, like, it's so easy for me to see this from the perspective of how men and women react because for men, I'm looking at it wasn't a big deal. Mm-hmm. Like for me, like this morning, like, hey, it was a regular day. It was like zero triggers, like a man or a little boy getting shit done, doing the work and just being in the zone and doing what he has to do. But for the feminine energy,
we're so delicate.
It's like a fucking tsunami. Like, I'm not going to tolerate this. I'm like, so then part of me just wants, I honor the part that you speak your truth.
Yeah.
And, I didn't have a conversation with Alejandro, but I'm pretty sure he's thinking like that. I don't know what the fuck happened this morning. I don't know what she's talking about. But the fact that he's owning it,
yes,
it just shows the maturity. Because I think that's what a lot of men do is we want to get defensive. What do you mean you're not going to tolerate this? What did I do? I didn't do anything. Like, all I do is work. All I do is, go to school. All I do is this. And we are digging our own hole because we are not putting ourselves in the other person's shoes and said, okay, even if to me is nothing, obviously to you is something.
Yes.
So that's the part that I'm proud that he actually didn't fight. I said, I get it. Like for you it's a big deal and you're going to tolerate it. I get it. I understand that part.
So here's something that I've learned from not just being a mom, but being a woman. And when I started the conversation with him, and this is something that so many women don't start, I didn't start the conversations in the past this way. Because when I talked to him, when I started the conversation, I said, the things that I appreciate about him. And the fact, like when he got in the car, I praised him and I appreciated him from a place of truth, not from a place of like fluffing him or, like lying to him. I asked him, like, how did he do in the test? He said he did good, one bad. And I said, I am proud of you for trying. I am proud of you for staying up. I am proud of you for, coming to school and taking the test because I know it's not easy. Like I remember what it was like when I was in high school and feeling the stress. And I took that time to really honor those things that he did. And this is what I need to tell you of what I feel, right? And I think going back to like a regular relationship, husband and wife, which we always talk about, is, like when I talk to you, I tell you like, hey, listen, you are an amazing husband. You're an amazing lover. And this is what bothered me. Like when you talk to me this way, or when you don't look at me this way, or when you say these things in front of people, whatever the situation may be, because and this is the part that I want listeners to understand, is like when we don't speak our truth, our own truth, like I could have stayed quiet. I could have chose to not say anything, just like I have many times with you. Like I've chosen not to say something because like, what is he going to think? Or what is, Cosmo told me not to say that or do that. And then you choose not to speak. And it's like, it stacks up.
Yeah.
Things that need to be said.
And it builds resentment.
Yes.
It makes it bigger. And at the same time, you start creating judgment.
And then you start this disconnection. When the resentment, like if you and I would have continued this, like how we were in the past, it would have built this resentment. And then that's when it starts a disconnection.
Yeah,
of our love.
And I think a lot of us, what we could relate to that is when we're having relationships, conversation with people that we love, we want to hold back sometimes because we don't want to hurt them.
Right.
We don't want to hurt them, and then therefore like, oh, maybe it's maybe I shouldn't say this.
Yeah.
Instead of like here's what I'm going through, and it's not about you, it's about me. So one of the great frames that you use is like, it's not about you. You could do whatever you want. It's just I'm going to protect my energy. And when I look at it in the way of the big picture of God communicating with us, like you never, like in religion they teach about God punishing us, right? But not one word in the Bible, like at least for me, when I look at it, is like God punish, like condemning you or saying you're bad for this. It's always, there's a price you're going to pay for your choices. There's consequences you're going to have based on the choices that you make. And the consequences are not good or bad. It's just consequences you're going to have to deal with, like pain or for what you're pain or consequences if you make the right choices.
Right.
So a lot of us with parents, what we want to do is avoid the pain to our kids or avoid the pain with our relationship. Yes. So therefore, because we don't want to argue or we don't want to feel the pain, we just want to mask it. We want to put a Band-Aid on it. We want to talk about it until it stacks it. And all of a sudden, it becomes a wound.
Yeah.
One of the things that I told one of my clients this week, because he's going through a hard time with his relationship, I said, good, because you can't heal what you don't feel.
I say that.
Oh, yeah? if you're not willing to feel the pain, you can't heal it.
That's right.
When there's a pain pain in your business, you got to feel it. If you have pain in your health, you got to feel it. If you have pain in your relationship, you got to feel it. You can't heal what you can't feel.
That's right.
And then if you want to start healing the relationships, you have to start having those tough conversations. You want to start healing your business, you're going to have to start facing the pain and facing the reality. You start healing a connection with God or getting stronger spiritually, you have to start feeling that pain of that creates a disconnect. And from that pain creates a threshold of opportunity. And crisis really is an opportunity. Whatever crisis you're going through is an opportunity for you to get closer to God and ask God for wisdom, ask God for strength, ask God to give you more clarity of what is it that you want. Because the moment that you know, okay, I'm going through this hard time, whether I'm going through a hard time with my son, with my wife, with my business, what is God trying to tell you that you refuse to listen? What is the pain that you are putting a Band-Aid on that you refuse to take it off and actually face it, feel it, so you can start to heal?
See the wound, yeah. Yeah, that's so true. I love that. So then at the end, we had an amazing conversation. What we learned from our kids, what he learns from me as a mom, as a woman, even, like, I pray that those are just little seeds for him and for me, of how we grow. Like you said, like how we grow. And I think the number one reason why we don't take the time to see these lessons is because we're so focused on moving on to the next. Because it would have been so easy for me this morning or even this afternoon of like, okay, we got to go to the next thing. We got to go to school. We got to, do this, or we got to get to the next meeting, or I got to go wherever it is. Right. So it's like the minute that something like this happens for me, it's been like this growth spurt of just really slowing down and facing what's in front of me and facing the feelings that are in front of me. So the same thing, I had a conversation with the client. It's like, Vivian, I don't even want to slow down to actually kind of decipher everything that's happening in my life, because there's so much of it that I don't want to, because it's going to take up so much time. And the minute that we get in tune with like, okay, I have the time to actually deal with this, because it's kind of like, you don't want to make this big mess.
If you don't deal with it now, you're going to deal with a bigger one later on.
Yes,
and that's what I tell my clients right now, especially last 30 days of the year, clean up your shit, clean
That's
up your
right.
mess, start tying up the loose ends.
Yes.
Because you don't want to carry this for next year. You don't want to carry the same energy.
That's
Whatever
right.
conversation you need to have, you have to have.
Yes.
Whatever deals that don't come through, you have to like end the energetic connect field
What's draining you?
that's taking away your
Yes.
energy, so you can
Yes.
actually create energy to expand.
Yes.
Because
I love that.
unless you do that, you're gonna carry the same energy for next year, the same problems next year, and they're all gonna compound.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we'd say, like cleaning the space between the kids and between our relationship. Like, and then after, like when I left the house, and then I always say that, like, God forbid I never come back home. Like, I know that we had this conversation with my son. I know that I left him a lesson, whether it was big or small, and then he kind of understood. And it's like there was no friction between the two of us.
And you spoke your truth, and then you spoke your truth. So there is no charge,
right?
And there is no resentment, there is no shame, there is no guilt, there is none of that emotion that creates separation between a mother and a child, a husband and a wife, or employee and an employer. So part of it is, if you get nothing out of this podcast, just get real with what your truth is and speak your truth, even if sometimes you're gonna really open up a can of worms, because you have to clean it up. Like, if you don't clean up your mess, it's only gonna get bigger.
That's right.
Your mess is always gonna get bigger if you're not willing to face your pain, clean it up, and be able to deal with the consequences.
And then you have this beautiful sleigh in front of you, a canvas that you could just paint and put whatever it is that you want in there, whatever word, whatever you want it to look like. And I think that's the beauty of it, because then when we let go of all these expectations of what it has to look like, and you're in alignment to what God wants for you in your life. And then again, like what I tell my coaching clients, like, when you remember who God created in you, then it's like, oh, okay, this canvas could be filled with so many beautiful mixed emotions.
And at the end of the day,
things.
remember that whatever you're going through right now, you have to go through. Like, all these little lessons we discount, but we have to go through. Your kids are here to expand you spiritually. Your business is here
your husband is here
to help you grow. Your husband, your wife is here to expand and help you grow. Life is giving you exactly what you need to level the fuck up. And if you're not willing to level up, then you're always gonna be going backwards and stepping in the same stone as before. And then you wonder why you're in the same place that you were last year, and it's a brand new year.
Yes.
So with that said, thank you for listening to this podcast. Thank you for commenting. We'll see you next time. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Follow us everywhere except for our bedroom. That's where we keep it private. Thank you, babe. Appreciate you. Learn it, live it, experience it.
Love life.
If you receive any value from this conversation, comment, subscribe, and share as we continue to impact more people and take it to the next level.
And please send us your comments and questions so we could answer them in the next podcast.
See you in the next episode.